Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Invictus, Hercules Invictus, and tonight I bring you to the Pep Talk with John Carl Pepe, who is Pepe, John Carl Pepe.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Hercules. That was a great lead in to what our topic is going to be for tonight. Folks, it is at the time of recording 9 p.m., July 5th, 2026. We made it. We made it, America. 250 years of the great American experiment. It was a little touch and go like that for a while there. I thought yesterday might have been a good capper, but we did it. We made it. I don't know when an experiment is no longer an experiment, but happy to actually be here for this country's semi-quincentennial. I don't remember our bicentennial, but because I was 1 year old, but it was very cool, kind of just to be around for a good, us in the comic industry, we like a good round milestone issue number, right? So 250 is always a good big bang slam up double sized special issue there. So congrats, America, you made it. Boy, let's keep it going. All right. In spite of everything else that's going on. But yeah. So I thought no better way to celebrate our country's birthday than to talk about one of the most iconic American produced film franchises that is so recognizable over the years. I got my first guest here shaking his head, but we'll get to what I mean there. So we're going to be
I
talking,
know what you
folks.
mean.
We're going to be talking about James Bond. And James Bond started as, yes, as a novel written by a British author, but the film franchise, most notably, has been produced almost in perpetuity by the Broccoli family. Started spearheaded by the first or the best name in Hollywood producers, Albert Cubby Broccoli. So that's my little American connection there. That's the one I'm going to go with. I know there's another speculation there. We will touch on that, but first,
I feel better now.
I want to I want to introduce our guests. So we'll lead it off with a gentleman who has been on the show a couple times before last year. He is a noted movie fan, pop culture expert, and an icon in his own mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you and we're gonna do the James Bond introduction to yourself here, buddy. I give you Agent 003. Sir, what is your name?
Uh, Duffy, AJ Duffy,
Very good. And my next
and
guest. Oh,
prepared.
yes. He is prepared. He's got the martini. We're going to get to the martinis in a little bit too, because some interesting facts about that. And my other guest tonight has been has been on the Mount Olympus podcast network before on a show with Hercules and the great John Paul Dale Roberts. Paul Dale Roberts. I'm messing his name up. Sorry, Paul.
Oh,
You're great. But anyway, he is new to the Pep Talk, but this is somebody I get to work with every day. It is a pleasure. He's a very smart kid. He is the inspiration for doing this James Bond episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Agent 006, not 007. Sir, what is your name?
My name's Westefeld. Ezra Westefeld.
Very good. Very good. So, Ezra, I'm going to start with you
Okay.
because I was so surprised to find that out one day after work, we were having our usual conversations, that you love James Bond.
Yes.
And I think that is so cool because again, there is an age difference, and it's so good to know that there are just things that are just perennials, things that are there. So I want to get into basically what is your first awareness of the character of James Bond, your introduction to James Bond, and how young were you, and what was it about that that really stuck with you?
Uh, First of all, thank you for that lovely intro. Um, I want to say I was around probably off, but like 12, 13-ish. My awareness was definitely through the movies. When my mom like started dating my stepfather and like he moved in and all that jazz. I think this was either before or after they got married, obviously. But my mom had like this huge collection of like DVDs, and so if there was ever a difference in one, I would spot it. And so one day there was like this giant box collection of James Bond. I was like, that's not my mom's, and it was my stepfather's. And so I was like, what's this? What's James Bond? And this was during a period of time where, like, if my mom and stepfather were watching like an older movie on TV, like I watched like Total Recall, Demolition Man, a lot of older stuff that I wouldn't have been exposed to normally because I was all superheroes and cartoons like I am now. And so I was like, oh, what's James Bond? So we watched a few. I can't remember which one it was. I know we didn't go through the entire box set, but we went through enough where my interest was definitely piqued, and like I saw some of them out on my own, and in my mind, and I know this isn't like a 1-to-1 comparison, but I was like, this is Bruce Wayne if the bat never flew through the window. He's got the suave, he's got the gadgets, he's got the women, and just I thought he was just like the coolest guy. And then my interest in him definitely dipped for a while. I think I saw one of the Daniel Craig movies in theaters. The rest like streaming and whatnot. But then with the announcement of the new game, First Light, I was like, I love James Bond. Oh my God. It's like something like awakened in my brain. So yeah, I was off the horse for a bit, but now I'm definitely probably gonna go back and watch some of them at some point. Probably that same box set when I see my parents again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Agent Duffy, what was your introduction to James Bond? How old were you? What was it that really stuck with you? Where did this all start for you?
All right. Well, for me, this is a little more embarrassing because my Bond growing up was Roger Moore. So for me, it was the playful Bond, it was the goofy Bond, it was all the silly Bond movies that now you look back, clearly not the best Bond, but as a kid, loved them. Like was seeing them on TV all the time. Obviously growing up in the 70s and 80s, that was what we had. It was on all the time. So constantly watching them on the weekends, sitting in front of the TV at my grandmother's house, watching them there. Um, Probably, I don't know if I actually saw a Bond movie in theaters up until maybe View to a Kill.
No.
Mm.
Maybe one or two before that, but that's the first one I definitely remember going by myself to see. Not, with friends, not without parents. Um, Moving forward, though, I came to appreciate all the Bond movies, obsessed with them, love them. Obviously Roger Moore, way down on the list, but that was my Bond to start. So I started at the bottom and worked my way up.
So that's interesting because I obviously Roger Moore also we're close enough where like he was our James Bond. And for me, my awareness of James Bond, it's so weird. I can't ever remember a time where there was no James Bond. But like, unlike Star Wars, where I have that memory of actually seeing it for the first time, or a memory of a memory, as those things sort of work. But I definitely know, like, I can track that moment. And but like with Batman, it's very hard to for me to really be like, what was my introduction to Batman? What was my introduction to Superman? Same thing with James Bond. It was just sort of like I just from early conscious memory, I knew who this guy was. I knew what was going on. Maybe it was because of the Moonraker aspect being so
Of
Star
course,
Wars
Moonraker. Yep.
adjacent,
Saw that in
right?
theaters. Now I remember.
My uncle Paul at his house had a great basement with like a pool table and movie posters, and I very young age, Spy Who Loved Me and the Moonraker movie posters I remember hanging out there. Quick bit of America history trivia. My uncle Paul worked in advertising for a very long time. He actually put together the Madison Square Garden birthday tribute to John F. Kennedy. Yeah, so he lined that up, the famous Marilyn Monroe singing "Happy Birthday, Mr. President," and everything that happened after that. Yeah, that might all be on my uncle, but I think that's a very cool thing to contribute to American history.
And JFK instrumental in bringing Bond to be making Bond popular in the United States because
And
those novels were his favorite novels, and he would mention that in interviews, and that's Bond blew up
Wow.
after that.
that's cool. That is something I didn't know. That's
Yes.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very
JFK
cool.
was instrumental in making Bond popular in the United States.
I can change that story that my uncle gave JFK the Bond novels for his birthday
I'm sure
at
you will.
MSG.
I'm sure by next week you'll have told 100
That is it.
people.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
canon
that's all I'm gonna hear now. Thank you, AJ.
now.
5 days.
So famously, yes, James Bond was created by Ian Fleming, a British author who really lived an amazing life in and of himself. Almost was a James Bond in real life to a degree. I loved that he chose the name from some bird watching guide, some field manual of birds. He's like
Mhm.
the guy who wrote this book, James Bond. That's great, innocuous enough for a spy. And I don't know if he realized at the time that what he was creating would open up this whole thing, right? You know, it would become what it was. Clearly he didn't, because shortly after he wrote the first novel, he did sell the rights. And this is where we get to the very first live action portrayal of James Bond. And yeah, this is kind of what AJ was alluding to before. There was a CBS programming in 1954 had a live broadcast, live adaptation of the novel Casino Royale. And it's very, if you know that story, and you watch this adaptation, it is very interesting because it's that story, but with a happy ending. And I think it was very, very weird choice to begin with, but understandable for the time.
Well, they only had an hour.
They only had an hour, right? Exactly. And they decided because it was American television to change this newly introduced British spy into an American Central Intelligence agent. I don't think he's actually CIA. They come up with some other name, commonly referred to as Jimmy Bond, played by Barry Nelson. Now, what I found fascinating about this, though, besides that, is the Felix Leiter character, James Bond's American counterpoint,
Clarence
is
later.
Clarence Leiter. Yes, is reassigned as a British, and he is played by an actor named Michael Pate. And AJ, I think you might agree that guy should have played James Bond, and Barry Nelson should have been Felix Leiter.
Absolutely. Clarence Leiter. I don't know why they changed the name. I don't know what was wrong with Felix, but Clarence Leiter in that, he's actually a really good actor. And
Yeah.
Peter Lorre as Le
Yes.
Chiffre is also phenomenal casting. But the guy who plays Jimmy Bond, who, by the way, I think they only actually call him Jimmy Bond when they introduce him. I think after that, it does go back to James. And he is listed as James in the credits. Um, I don't know why they did that. And at one point, he's explaining to Clarence Leiter how many dollars equal how many pounds. And he actually says to him, he goes, I don't know how much that is in your money, or something like that. He's talking about pounds. And it's just a slap in the face right off the bat.
It is really bizarre. The couple of things that I did like, because I did go back and rewatch it recently, because it's been a long time since I had watched it.
As it
I
should be.
I really enjoy. Oh, there's like so many versions out there. By the way, if you want to watch this, the show is called Climax. Just look, I think James Bond Casino Royale 1954. That'll show it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
But you can find like some really awful prints. There was like an ending that was like lost that got reattached on some prints. There are some people who actually went so far as recolored it and put in the John Barry score. So to try and at least make it feel like a classic Bond film. So there is that. One of the things I was impressed with for live television at the time, at the beginning, there is an attack on James Bond. And I thought that was very impressive. A little gunplay going on in the opening minutes where James Bond hides behind a tree as the bullets, sort of the squibs, just go off in the tree in front of him, So I thought
and
that was really
the
fun.
doorman next to him.
Yeah, and the doorman.
There's actually a doorman there.
He's just hanging out.
And
yeah.
you don't see the gunman. It's just
Yeah, there's like I think really quick, there's like a foreground, like like one of the, and then it's like, yeah.
Is there? I don't remember that.
It was just it's a flash. It's so fast from what I recall. What impressed me the most was the Baccarat game that they play, and it is live television, and so the card box clearly is loaded with the right cards to go in the right sequence. But I'm the whole time I'm like, if Peter Lorre accidentally pulls the wrong card or hands off the wrong card, the whole thing goes out the window at that point. That impressed me, just that sort of stage coordination to do a game of chance on live television, even though, again, rigged box, but still a big margin of error on that. So Now, yes, AJ, you mentioned Roger Moore as being, your least favorite Bond, even though he was your introduction to Bond. Um, what would your ranking be? Let's get your ranking on the Bonds.
I knew you were going to ask this, and I've been thinking about it all week, and I
It's
still
hard.
don't have a definitive answer
Fair enough.
because my top two are so hard to choose.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Craig has done a wonderful job with the role, but I love Pierce Brosnan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I definitely got to put Roger Moore last. I got to put Lazenby above him because Lazenby did a great job. No, you know what? Dalton did 2 movies, but I really see this is such a tough question. All right, bottom to top, Moore, Dalton, Lazenby, Connery. The top two are hard, man.
It's hard. So that's
I can't.
so
Craig knocked it out of the park. I would have said Pierce Brosnan. Craig really has 2 outstanding movies.
This is so actually, Ezra, you want to take a shot at it, and it's fine if you can't land on it. That's fine because this was sort of an experiment. I kind of knew this would happen. So why don't you take a shot, see if you could come up with a ranking of the 6.
I think 6.
Right, 6.
I think I was probably like 3.
Yeah,
To be
I
honest,
just threw out all 6.
as you guys know, to be honest, I'm not like, oh, this actor, that actor. Like I
Yeah,
He's
have
like Craig and the
favorites.
guy with dark hair.
Exactly, guy with dark hair. I mean, like Ada said, Daniel Craig's done like a phenomenal job.
In 2 movies.
Number
2 out of 5.
one, number one, I think is probably Pierce Brosnan. I want to say.
Okay.
2, just because like I've been bored and I've been playing a lot more. I got to give it to Patrick Gibson, who, if you don't know, was the actor chosen for the game. So he did like the face capture, the acting. No, because the thing is,
No, I know. I got
because
it.
I was doing
I wasn't
like my
thinking games.
research. I watched like a few like recap videos over the last few days. I'm like, oh, here's James Bond in 20 minutes, and I was like, he kind of took like a little bit from all of them,
Mhm.
and smushed all together in like a, what was it? I don't know, like a 4 or 5 hour game, probably shorter. And he still like made it his own. And I think that's really cool, and obviously I did like types in like superheroes. Like the one big thing when, somebody is playing like Batman or Spider-Man is, oh, what are they taking from the other actors? But in the case of Gibson, he did that very well. And then third place is probably Daniel Craig. He was a little higher, but like I said, I've been playing the game a lot more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because
Can I
think
change my answer now? Because I'm thinking Woody Allen. I'm thinking
Peter Sellers,
No.
Ursula Andress, David Niven.
All right.
All right. So that's the one I really didn't want to talk about, but right now we will have to.
No,
mention it.
please don't. Please don't. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I made the joke.
So yeah, I do find it's easier to pick favorite Bond movies rather than favorite Bond actors, because I think it's everybody brought something to the role. I think that's why they were there, So again, Connery just sort of established a lot of just the iconic cool, and you really did have in those first 2-3 movies the cold-blooded killer, right? The blunt instrument that Daniel Craig's Bond always talks about, or and then something sort of happens that eventually they put more of themselves into the role. So it becomes less James Bond and more Sean Connery. Roger Moore's first couple 3 films I think are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just becomes more of Roger Moore's personality. And remember, Roger Moore made a career more than any other actor out of being James Bond.
And spoofing himself because he was kind of a joke by the end.
And by that point, I mean, again, yeah, you had your Muppet Show appearances. You had the only other significant Roger Moore role I can think of from the 80s that wasn't a James Bond role is Inspector Clouseau in Curse of the Pink Panther, where
Wow.
Peter Sellers, and here's a really interesting, yeah, little full weird meta full circle. Peter Sellers, who was in fake Casino Royale, faker than the live Casino Royale. Peter Sellers was famous for Inspector Clouseau. He died. Blake Edwards tried to continue Inspector Clouseau movies without him, with one being a clip show and then the other being American actor Ted Wass playing an American cop, and Roger Moore as being the missing Clouseau who had plastic surgery to look like Roger Moore. So it's really bizarre if you ever seek this movie out, and God help you if you do, but to watch Roger Moore play a bumbling Peter Sellers character. It's such a weird juxtaposition. And again, it is such a spoof of everything. To your point, AJ, yeah, by the end of his run on James Bond, yeah, he was just that was it, you know.
Yeah, I would have gone with Cannonball Run.
Cannonball Run, where he's just
where he's literally playing, telling his mom, "I'm Roger Moore."
and then before James Bond, The Saint. The
Saint,
Simon Temple's very much the same guy, and it's really funny because they considered him over Connery. But I think Fleming had say, or Cubby Broccoli had say, someone basically said he's too young. He's absolutely too young to play James Bond, which happened to one of my favorite Bonds later on, Timothy Dalton in 1969, when Connery was stepping down and they were looking to Lazenby. They were looking at Timothy Dalton, same thing, too young. So I like that the two guys early on, too young, did get to play him later on.
And ironically, Roger Moore was the oldest actor to play James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. he gave up one movie too late.
And he has famously talked about that, where he's just sort of on set was it Tanya Roberts, and he's just like, this is weird. I'm 57. This is weird. Now you're realizing it. So I think just everybody had something they could bring to the role, and I think that's what helps. And one of the things I do love about the Daniel Craig 5 movies is that it does give a timeline. It gives a complete James Bond story. And I love that. Yeah, Daniel Craig wanted to end that, wanted to have a final, an end to his version.
Spoilers.
Okay, for a 5-year-old movie.
No,
yeah.
I know.
So which is really interesting, because then it comes to this whole idea of James Bond continuity. And one thing that I found in my research is people have really tried to do a hatchet cut of the James Bond to make the Daniel Craig movies work within the context of the other movies. And I say bollocks to that. I don't think it works. I think the Daniel Craig movies should stand on their own. But, and I guess, Ezra, we'll start with you. I know you haven't watched all of the James Bond movies, but when you're watching the James Bond movies, do you look to continuity? Because I know you're a big comic reader and continuity is always big with us. Do you look to that, or do you just kind of look at this as, this is just isolated adventures of this guy, it doesn't matter what's going on? Like,
I think it depends on which one you're watching. Like, if you're watching Secret Service, he has the shortest marriage of all time. And then you're like, wait, how did that happen? So you got to go back. So I feel like some points that Bill and others, like with comics, some you need that pre-established context. But I think 9 times out of 10, I kind of just like turn my brain off and enjoy it. But I think you were saying, I don't remember if you said like you don't like this, or it's like one of like your least favorite aspects. You can't really do that with the Daniel Craig ones, because like you said, with it being like a clear timeline, you need to go back if you're watching the third or fourth one in his saga.
Obviously you can watch the first movie as a standalone, but the second one, picks up seconds after or hours after the first movie. Skyfall, the middle movie, I feel it is the most isolated, but it does an interesting thing where it's sort of like if Casino Royale is the Batman Begins of the Daniel Craig movies, Skyfall is the Spider-Man No Way Home, because it ends the
film that movie covered.
ends the movie filmed under cover. No, that's actually No Time to Die. That movie filmed under COVID rules does look like it was filmed under cover. But yeah, but Skyfall really puts it all, you get the Walther PPK, you get Q introduction, you get Miss Moneypenny, you get, Ray Fiennes as M. It sort of gives you the James Bond that and it took 3 movies to get there, sort of like what they've done with the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. It's interesting you bring up. Oh yeah, go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's isolated at all. I feel like that's the movie where you're passing the torch. Like, I get what you're saying, but I think that's where because when you, all right, spoilers, when you kill Judi Dench, you're finally saying goodbye to the old Bond. And then you're, like you said, you're introducing M, you're introducing the Walther. Q comes up finally, who is great. But at the same time, now you're adding the silliness, which if the Connery movies, you didn't have the silliness with all the gadgets until after From Russia with Love. Right? That was still a spy movie. And before that, they were still spy movies. And then all of a sudden, it's about the gadgets and the cars and the laser beams and the helicopters and all the crap, the gyrocopter, jetpacks. I don't think Skyfall. I think Skyfall was one of the 2 best Craig movies. That movie's a masterpiece.
Oh, I think it
but
is.
But also, I think because Craig was getting worn down, they wanted to set it up for a new person to take over with a new cast, and Craig changed his mind about leaving.
Yeah. But I feel like that is still, yes, even though you are having sort of a closure for certain characters, I do feel that if you go into that just knowing who James Bond is, I think it is the closest that series comes to having its own sort of bottle episode. And then, of course, with the next 2 movies, they really open it up with, I think, Spectre being the most, as you said, you said that the humor started to creep in, Spectre being the most Roger Moore James Bond movie that Daniel Craig has done. It's like he's the most Roger Moore, that with falling on the couch at the beginning, and just a lot of the goofiness in there. I find in that movie.
I also feel it's the most forgettable of his 5 movies. Like, I was sitting here thinking about it today, and I'm like, no, Casino Royale, perfect movie. Skyfall, perfect movie. You remember all the beats. Quantum of Solace, okay, not the best movie, but it's basically continuation of Casino Royale. So you remember that. And obviously the last one you remember for a lot of reasons. But I feel like Spectre is like the forgotten one. That's the one that doesn't stick in your head.
But you know what Spectre is, though? It is a thing, as I believe it's the only James Bond film to hold a Guinness World Record. For AJ, you seem like you got this, No?
Not for Spectre, for Casino Royale. There's a Guinness
record for Casino Royale.
When they flipped the car. That was the most flips ever done in a stunt in a car.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, because I know that
Spectre, I don't know what you're going for, but Spectre Casino Royale, there's the Guinness World Record. So
right on. I thought most nut shots with a knotted rope, but
that too. But they don't list that.
Boy, I'll tell you, man. Daniel Craig, across those 5 movies, he sells being tortured. He just the brutality that he endures, or that character endures, but the way he conveys it to the viewer, it's just you feel it, man. That's
how Fleming wrote it. Fleming beat the crap out of James Bond in every single novel he wrote, and I'm like, nobody would survive this.
Yeah, and Felix Leiter. Felix Leiter had by his last appearance in the books, I don't think he had any limbs left, and one sharks, eye. Yeah,
poor Leiter.
But
sorry, what was the world record you were going?
Spectre has a world record for the largest practical explosion in a movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Michael Bay doesn't have that?
Michael Bay does not have that. Yeah.
yeah, that's surprising.
Apparently that's when they blow up the big complex at the end. That was the largest set that was exploded.
Oh, that one I didn't know, but the car flip thing, look that up, because they got that for that.
That's a great car flip. My favorite Bond stunt / car flip would probably be the one in Man with the Golden Gun, where the car goes over that one half of the bridge, does that little turn, and then hits the other half of the bridge.
Oh God.
I love that. As a practical stunt, I absolutely love that. I don't like the whistle that sound effect that they use, but I love that stunt.
And the sheriff.
The sheriff who canonically in my head canon, it's the same sheriff in Superman 2 as well, because it's the same actor playing a sheriff.
Uh-huh.
So what is JJ, what's your favorite Bond stunt that you can come up with? Again,
Oh,
it's hard. Yeah.
no, not at all in this one. And honestly, I don't know if this world record has been broken because this was a world record at the time too. Was in GoldenEye, the run down the dam.
Right,
At the
right.
time that happened, that was huge. That was like one of the coolest stunts ever.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the longest rappel ever. I don't know if that still holds the record. You'd have to look that up. That one I don't know. But at the time, it was a big deal.
Hmm. Very cool.
So I'm gonna
Ez-
go with that.
nice. Ezra, do you got a memorable stunt that you think of for James Bond? Sort of really stuck out?
Probably the jump from The Spy Who Loved Me.
The
I'm
parachute.
Yeah, I'm a sucker because it was skiing too. So I'm a sucker for snow scenes because you can run like a floor, you can do flips and whatnot, but like if you're like in like a different element of nature, I think that makes it just so much cooler. And I think that was one I watched when I was a little younger. I think that's just why it stood out to me.
That was a big deal. In watching a lot of stuff about like people really like sold a lot of people on that film, especially. And that's a really cool film too. I think that's again, I think that's your peak Roger Moore. I think after that it really does start to go off the rails with a little bit of a bright spot, in my opinion, with For Your Eyes Only. I feel like he is that's I feel his where he's very gritty Bond in
Mhm.
that, and
And it
is
had the best movie poster.
and did have a very good movie. Yes, yes. Ezra, you'd mentioned On Her Majesty's Secret Service before. AJ, you'd mentioned George Lazenby. That movie, when you're talking about James Bond continuity, does two very interesting things, and people have taken both of those things and run with it. At the beginning, he has this
Hmm.
little throwaway line to the camera where he goes, "This never happened to the other fella." But then later in the movie, he's cleaning out his desk and he has artifacts from the Sean Connery movies. And that is, again with From Russia with Love really kind of coming off the heels of Dr. No, that basically there, Spectre or Smersh I think it was Spectre, no, Smersh first
It
in
was Smersh at
the
first.
first two movies, yeah. Because the Spectre creation led to that whole weird legal thing with James Bond, which is very interesting too. But yeah, so Smersh is reacting to what happened in Doctor No. Goldfinger is a little more of an isolated affair. Thunderball introduces Spectre and Blofeld, and again is famous for having another situation where Ian Fleming had co-created that story with somebody else, and as a film project, it didn't get picked up. Fleming turns into a novel, doesn't credit the guy. The guy says, "Hey, that's my story as well." Fleming then basically says, "Well, let's." They so worked it out where they could share the credit for the first to make it as the movie Thunderball, and then 10 years after that, that
Oh,
producer Robert McCurdy has the rights to do a remake. That's where we famously get Never Say Never Again, which, well, not my favorite Bond film. It does have my favorite Felix Leiter, Bernie Casey. I think he's a great Felix Leiter in that movie. But
not
anyway,
my favorite, but he is good.
yeah. So yeah, so I think what happens is that this opens up On Her Majesty's Secret Service really opens up the question among people of fans. Same guy, different guy with code names. Um, where do you lie on that spectrum, AJ? It's same guy throughout until the Craigs, or are we looking at a couple different guys changing handles and stuff?
I don't look at it either way.
Hmm.
I take it, okay, because you mentioned comics before and continuity and everything else. I just feel they're all reboots. Same
Hmm.
character,
Mhm.
just different actors. It's like you don't. All right, the other longest running series of all time, Godzilla. Again,
Mhm.
like you were saying earlier with James Bond, always been there for us, right?
Mhm.
Can't remember where it started. You don't question a different costume. You don't question a different suit. It's Godzilla.
Mhm.
I look at James Bond the same way, except for the Craig ones. That's its own continuity.
Right.
All right. That's Elseworlds James Bond, and it's great. The
Yeah.
other James Bonds, all the same dude, just different missions.
And you're
Not
right with
not different guy, different code name, just the same guy, different actors.
yeah, you're right. The Godzilla thing, because it really wasn't until later that they really tried to do like specific universes, specific continuities for these things. But those early Godzilla movies, there was very tenuous connecting threads, if anything,
Yeah,
you know.
it's
Yeah,
all the same thing.
yeah.
I mean, yes, Godzilla universe, believe me, we could do a whole Godzilla thing and, I'm much deeper down the rabbit hole on that. So I know Godzilla people watching this are going to be like, he's crazy. But yes, there are different Godzilla universes. We'll stop it there.
That's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to protect you from the commenters.
All
So
six of them.
I'll sing all if that.
Or seven.
Or seven. Very good. There we go. There
Oh,
we go. There's
damn
the
it, I set him up.
Ezra, do you kind of have the same thing, sort of like you just take it for what it is? I mean, obviously, yes, the Daniel Craig, I think you even mentioned you kind of consider it its own thing.
Mhm.
And then I kind of want to talk about, since you're playing the game right now, what's going on with that and what continuity is that establishing or referencing?
So, first of all, I finished the game. Thank you very much. And that is something I'm platinuming, unlike Lego Batman. That is something I'm trying to platinum. But
Okay,
actually,
good for you.
I want to talk about this because spoilers for the game. AJ, I know you're playing, so I want to plug your ears.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Well,
actually.
I will. I'll go. I'll do thumbs up when I'm done if you want to plug your ears. But I do want to talk about the ending because at the end, most of the agents he is training with die. So there's one final scene. M looks at him, and she goes, "I guess it would be appropriate to call you 001." So and he says, "No, I was the last one. I was late." And then that's how you earned the number because he was the seventh one there. So if it was several people, why would they keep having the same number? Like, I feel like it would make more sense if for some reason all these people with different code names were, James Bond 007, and then you just go up from 7. So no, I think, like AJ said, reboots, you don't really question it. Or he just has like severe multiple personality disorder. And he gets plastic surgery every like 5 years to fit the new identity that takes over.
Nice.
That's the other one.
So wait, Daniel Craig's really old then.
Well, so I always look at it as, I feel like Connery definitely through more are the same guy, and there's enough connecting threads to justify that. It's when you get to the Pierce Brosnan, because the Pierce Brosnan has connecting thread, because it's Tracy Bond is mentioned, in that, and in, I think, the Dalton films as well.
Yes, she is.
The first, GoldenEye is predicated on Bond being a relic of the Cold War, but yet he looks really good. And then the world is not enough. That is, as established in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, that is the part of the Bond family motto, like part of the crests and everything like that. So there's enough connecting threads where, yeah, you could say it's the same guy, and just it's fine that he looks different, like you said, different actor, same role. The age is, by the end of the Brosnan run, is a little, you are pushing it at that point. So I think, yes, Daniel Craig rebooting, doing its own continuity, its own thing. And I think that movie definitively does say his name is James Bond. He was born James Bond. And his parents died when he was a kid. It's very Bruce Wayne-esque, like you had mentioned before, Ezra. And for some freaking reason, they decided to go the Austin Powers route and have Blofeld be his not biological brother, but is raised as brothers. I hate that choice. We're gonna move on. But
Again,
again,
forgettable movie. The only
See, I
one of the
can't
Daniel Craig
forget that.
movies.
I can't forget that.
I can.
I wish I had the needle in my neck that would make me forget
Nope.
that didn't work on Bond because he's
I
at
was
his
gonna say it
most
would have worked on you.
superhuman.
It's clearly defective.
He's most
Completely
superhuman in that movie.
Spectre gone. Not a bad movie, just not necessary.
It's not necessary. No, no. And and so I do, so I like that, but I do also like in that movie that does say like, because you only have 9 numbers to work with if you're doing the 00 route, right? And so if one falls, you're going to put somebody else in that number, but you're not going to give them that name because their name is their name. So that's sort of where I land on that.
Um, I'm trying to pull this out of my memory because I've read every single novel,
Yes.
like up until current day. Like the Horowitz novels that wrapped up a few years ago, he was feeding off like notes that Fleming had left behind. So some of that, those are based in the 60s. I feel like I remember a 011, Agent 11.
Agent 11.
I feel like I
011.
remember that from one of the books, but
That would be there's
that's,
a 010 too. That's interesting. Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's an 11 somewhere mentioned in one of the books,
Hmm.
but I don't remember anything higher than that. And I could be wrong on the 11. So I apologize to the 6 people watching this.
Or 7.
Or 7.
Or 7.
So Ezra, the game you were talking about, it is a brand new story. It's a new origin for James Bond. I remember, as I told you, I was watching a cinematic and I was jarred because M says, you'll serve on His Majesty's Secret Service. I was like, whoa, wait, what? You said that they do explain the scar in the game. AJ, do you remember in the books if the scar is ever explained?
Which scar?
The scar on James Bond's cheek that they never
Oh,
put in the movies.
no.
Yeah,
No, the scar on
interesting.
his cheek, I don't remember. The burns on his hands from on his arms from Moonraker, because that to
Yes.
me was the most horrifying thing ever. The novelization of Moonraker is like a Saw movie. So, yeah, the scar on his cheek, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Interesting. So that kind of brings me to my next thing. So the Daniel Craig era is done. We have a complete James Bond story arc here. We now know, it's in the hands of Denis Villeneuve as director and Christopher McQuarrie as screenwriter. Both have very good creds. Um, what would you like to see going forward with Amazon's James Bond?
I don't have, okay, I love Denis Villeneuve.
Sure.
I love Macquarie.
Mhm.
I think they're the 2 most talented people to take over James Bond. I don't have high hopes for Amazon. I feel like Amazon is just going to be sitting there, behind their shoulders saying, no, you can't do that. You can't do this. You got to do this. You got to do this, blah, blah, blah. I feel like they're going to micromanage everything and they're going to run it into the ground.
Hmm.
I honestly, I would like to see them go back and do like a period a period piece in the 60s, and start over again.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do that, obviously. It's going to be modern James Bond. There's going to be drones. There's going to be, all kinds of technology. But I would rather see them strip it back to basics and just a guy with his gun and his wits.
Yeah.
Almost like a Bourne affair.
Which
Bourne
kind
Identity.
of, it's funny because James Bond is always, aside from the early movies, James Bond very rarely sets trends. It always follows trends. Moonraker being an example.
Yep.
The Daniel Craig movies are very film influenced. One of the things that I find very funny about Casino Royale, it is such a 2006 movie because they replaced Baccarat from the novel with Texas Hold'em Poker, which was very big in 2006, and there's a whole lot of parkour in that movie as well, which again, very 2006. So I do like that as an updating of the times, because that's one of the things that does strain credibility if you do look at the pre-Craig movies as one thing, is that yeah, it is such a very stretched out timeline that it does really strain any of that credibility as far as wanting to enjoy it as a big one long narrative arc. Ezra, where would you like to see any future James Bond projects going?
I like the idea of it not being a continuation of the game necessarily, but it taking place in that time period. Because again, even though it's before he becomes 007, it's set in modern day. The big enemy is an AI corporation with an evil supercomputer, which is obviously very reflective of what's going on. And honestly, AJ, to your point, I've got two shows you should check out. They're called Jack Ryan and Reacher.
Okay, I love both those shows.
I know.
I've read every Reacher novel. I've watched every episode of Reacher multiple times. And Jack Ryan, I own every single episode. I love both those shows. But we have those right now to take place in modern day. The current Bond novels have been going back to the 60s, and I love it. I wasn't around in the 60s. I don't care, but that's James Bond. Like, I feel like he's perfect for that time period.
Okay.
You know, that's why I would like to see it. We have enough, like Jack Ryan. I love the Jack Ryan show. The recent movie, it was okay, but the show itself was fantastic. So we have stuff for the modern day stuff. You don't see a lot of 60s stuff anymore. So that's why I would kind of like to see it go back, or 70s.
That's on 4. I'm loving this.
I would want to see. I would have done two things if I were. I would do a series adapting the books, a long form television series doing period adaptations of the books. And I mean, and just complete, just raw womanizing alcoholic James Bond, blunt instrument, very little remorse in what he has to do, which does, again, those when those human moments do arise, it really has more impact. I really would love to see this unlikable guy as a lead character in a show, just doing faithful period adaptations of the books. And then I would think
they could never do it.
You
Yeah,
can never do it.
You can AJ was saying Amazon would say you can't do this, and this. Just TV in general, you can't have like an unlikable main character anymore for more than like 2 episodes. So I feel maybe, but to your point, maybe if they establish that he's like a womanizing alcoholic, and then you grow from there.
Right.
Like it's the stuff. It's the story they forgot to tell you because it didn't exist.
It is at the time we're writing it now. Yeah. But
see, what again, it's the sexism and the alcoholism is off the charts. But if you read these books, it's torture porn.
There is a lot. Yes, it is.
I can't express enough how much Ian Fleming destroyed James Bond every single book.
Yes, it would be a little, I think, hard to sit through. But look, we did have 3 seasons of Hannibal on network television, no less. But that was what, now almost 20 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, and not many people watched it, unfortunately.
That's true. But I would do that as a series. But then I would also keep James Bond in the movies, and I would do something that I feel almost every franchise needs to try and do at some point, whether it's a Batman or a James Bond. But I think you get one film each for a marquee director, right? So, I know he's not the filmmaker he once was, but famously, hey, you got your power back.
Got my power back. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Famously, Steven Spielberg always wanted to make a James Bond movie, which is how he got Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that, but you beat me to
it. Give Steven Spielberg a chance to do a James Bond movie, cast whoever he wants in whatever era or period he wants, and then boom, give another marquee director like a Martin Scorsese, give him a James Bond movie to do. Just these one and dones, and just let these directors cut loose on a character that they all love and might have a good story to tell with it. That's what I would do. I don't know if there's money there, but like William Goldman said, nobody knows what they're doing anyway. So
Villeneuve is the perfect person to start this off with. He's just an amazing director, and I'm still never quite sure how to pronounce his name, but I love that guy. He hasn't made a bad movie yet,
right?
So he's the perfect guy in charge of this.
You know, it's
Um,
funny. At one point, Quentin Tarantino almost made a fifth Brosnan film that would have been an adaptation of Casino Royale. That would have taken place back in the early 60s, if not 1952 when the book was written, which AJ leads me to a really interesting bit of trivia. I didn't know if you know this because I know you've read all the James Bond novels. Did you know that in America, when Casino Royale was released, it wasn't called Casino Royale. That was only for the French edition. In America, it was called Casino Quarter Pounder. Ha! Got him.
no, I sat here for a minute. I'm going, where is he going with this? It wasn't named anything different. What is he talking about? And
There's
then
the Quentin
you had to make
Tarantino
the
thing is
Tarantino
real.
joke. Great.
Yeah.
So you just want to watch a movie with spies and feet.
Who doesn't?
You heard it here first, folks.
Who doesn't? I mean, one of the coolest things about Get Smart, probably the best James Bond parody of all time, was the shoe phone. But yeah, no,
Wow,
that's
he found a way to tie that in. I hate you.
yeah, no, the Quentin Tarantino wanted to do a Casino Royale with Pierce Brosnan was a real thing that was considered.
It would have been terrible. And Spielberg to this day still wants to make a James Bond movie.
I know.
It's still
I
his
know.
biggest regret in life. And I think he would have been fantastic at it. But we got Indy because of it, like you said.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, I don't think Steven Spielberg
Who never hung out with Batman, by the way.
But if it was, that's the period appropriate Batman to hang out with Indiana
Yeah,
Jones.
no, I got you. Purple gloves.
There'll be a lot of money to get that crossover going. Yeah, it's funny. I don't have a James Bond action figure, and those are like the two closest to James Bond that I could come up with.
I could have put a ton of James Bond stuff behind me, but I thought the martini would say it all.
Which brings me to the other thing. People ride James Bond for getting his martini shaken and not stirred because shaking the martini bruises the vodka, dulls the flavor.
Yes.
But there is a canonical reason why he does that.
Because this is the Vesper.
You did the Vesper martini. Very nice. You want to dull the taste. You want to bruise the vodka. That way somebody slipped you something in your drink.
Oh. Is that the reason?
That is a canonical James Bond thing.
Yeah. That one I didn't know either.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start getting
I thought it was
my
just
soda
because
shaken
that's
at
the way
restaurants
Vesper
now.
makes it.
Yeah, no, or just that it sounded cool, right? Like I always thought, like, oh, he just, it sounds cool, like shaken, not stirred,
This is literally the first martini I've had in about 20 years.
and then you go and you order a martini like James Bond at a bar, and the guy looks at you like you're a fucking idiot. So, but so on the verge of a new James Bond, do we have any casting choices? Anyone that we think we might want to see in the role? Ezra, I'll start with you.
I can't think of his name, which I know really, really sucks right now, given the question you just asked. But the only two things I know him from was he was Ajax in Deadpool, and he was a guy in the new Jurassic World who died in the first 30 minutes.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The swagger he had, the control he had over the mutant center and everything, what's my name and all that. He's probably a little older now, especially if we're doing an early James Bond. But I think he's really cool. He's obviously not American.
That's a nice pick. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, that is good.
And I was thinking because I can't talk about the video game, Patrick Gibson. Just because he's younger, he's got it. I mean, he looks the part, but obviously it's a video game. Does he have the training? Who knows? But he pulled up the scar. So,
AJ.
All right. So this contradicts what I said earlier about wanting the new Amazon James Bond to go back to the 60s. I still think Idris Elba would make an amazing James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see an older James Bond series like him just in his last years, almost like a Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon, like I'm too old for this shit, which Daniel Craig did, but he still wasn't quite old enough. And Idris Elba should have been the perfect James Bond 10, 15 years ago, but it's the same deal. People freaked out. Oh my God, we can't have a blonde James Bond. And people are freaking out. Oh, we can't have a black James Bond. I think Idris Elba, his work stands for itself.
I'll do it.
He's amazing.
I hear
Oh,
you.
you can do it.
I hear you. I'll do it.
No, Idris Elba.
It
That
does
was
seem
that's been my pick for a long time.
it does seem even people who are against that concept, you float that name and they're like, yeah, okay, that worked. I would go for that. You
Watch
know,
Luther.
he's universal. Yeah. Oh, absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
all I have to say. Watch Luther.
I don't want it to be an American.
No, I can't ever.
I don't
Ever.
want it to be American, and I kind of don't want it to be anyone associated with any other role either. You know, so like I've thought about Cavill, I thought about Tom Hiddleston, but no, I kind of want somebody fresh, somebody out of the blue to come to come
And
along.
it probably will be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
It
just
probably
think
will be.
that's
They're not. Idris Elba's already said, it's never going to happen. I'm too old. Blah blah blah. But he's still my dream casting.
yeah,
In an
yeah.
alternate universe, he was the best James Bond.
I think that there would be room for a Dark Knight Returns for James Bond. I think that, you know, especially if he is coming out of retirement,
Exactly.
like more than just like the 5 days it seemed that Daniel Craig retired. Well, although, and again, I've noticed in a lot of James Bond movies, he's usually either gone rogue, fired, or quit in most of these movies, especially in the Craig. It's in the Craig movies. It almost feels like he spends like a very little amount of time. And one of the things that I thought was interesting with those movies too, just to last bit about that, is that between the second and third movies, they really do go out of their way to be like, you've done a lot of adventures over a lot of years between these last two movies. And I wonder if there's any, maybe in novels or comics, would there be any room to explore that? Because you obviously can't cast somebody as an in-between movie Daniel Craig James Bond. You can't really revisit that. But again, I really just like the idea of seeing more just isolated adventures of James Bond going forward, no matter who's playing him. You know, I'm glad that we really got a nice 5 cycle complete story for this character, for this version of this character. But yeah, I want to just see, like, I just want people to be able to go in and see a James Bond movie and not have it be predicated on seeing anything else before, or being obliged to seeing anything else after.
You
Entertainment.
could do something like King of Monsters, where there's two.
Right, right.
That's a great show.
Yeah,
So you could,
Yeah, I wanted to go back to being an event like it used to be,
yeah.
where
Mhm.
you sat there and you waited. Who's going to be the new Bond? Who's going to be the new Bond girl? Who's going to do the song? The music
Yeah.
was important too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to wait forever to see. Oh my God, who's going to do the new Bond theme? That was
Yeah.
a huge deal.
And I gotta say, man, I know she just did the game, but I think Lana Del Rey should totally get that opportunity to be, because that is like one of the most the song for the game that Lana Del Rey did is like one of the most James Bond songs that in a while. And I will say, yeah, with the Craig movies, I some of those songs didn't really land for me, but I thought Adele's
Billie Eilish.
and the Billie Eilish, I thought those two songs really landed.
All right,
for me.
hold on. The Billie Eilish one, I have a fantastic demo version of that. Billie Eilish is not on it. It is one of my favorite Bond songs ever.
Interesting.
Remind me on Sunday, I will play it for you guys.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
But it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people know this exists, but I have it.
Well,
I wish I could play it here.
yeah, I always prefer a Bond song that is the title of the movie and not, Nobody Does It Better, or like half of more than.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
But that's my personal preference. So, guys, so we're just about at the end here. So really quick, in like 30 seconds each, any last thoughts? AJ, we'll have you tip it off.
No, man, this was a good hang.
Cool.
I had fun. I wish we could talk another hour.
Right on.
And
Nice.
we got to do a Godzilla one.
We will definitely do it.
He's been brought up too many times. And the only person who has more movies than Bond.
That is true. Ezra, any last thoughts?
If you want to read James Bond comics, come to the Joker's Child.
He's got to put a plug in. Oh my God.
That's all right.
I want to get paid this week, man.
Yeah, it gives me more time. But yes, you can find Ezra and I at the Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. You can always find me on Facebook at John Carl Pepe. AJ, Ezra, thank you so much for being here. This was a lot of fun. Such a great topic, and we could go for hours. Yes,
Yeah, and I
talking about
apologize
this.
for the blackout earlier.
No, that's fine. It all worked out. It was really cool, actually. Yeah. So yeah, folks, this is our July 4th, America's semi-quincentennial episode. We wanted to talk
Britain.
about Go Britain because we wanted to talk about James Bond, which again, I think is universally loved no matter what side of the pond you are on. Folks, I got a lot of thoughts about what's going on in this country right now. I just want to take a quick opportunity to be like, look, I know it's hard. We're almost there. We're almost there. We have such a great country. We have so many great things going for this country. I don't think we should let a few idiots, close-minded people, or angry people sort of dictate where this country goes. I think we know the correct path. I feel that, yes, we are in America, but we've lost our way a little bit. But I think America will endure, will be back the way it should be, and we can put a lot of this behind us and move forward and look forward to the next James Bond movie. And I hope you look forward to the next episode of the Pep Talk, because like America and like James Bond, the Pep Talk will return.
Those words, I end the show. Thank you very much, everybody, and happy Independence Day, and may your lives be full of independence. And I can't see, so I can get my glasses. Okay, here we go. Take care, everybody.